My granddad ate one of my weed brownies 10 minutes ago and freaking out. Do I call the ER? Will I go to jail? I'm visiting my grandparents for the whole week and I brought my brownies and my pen to the house to last the week. I kept the brownies sealed in my bag, but I accidentally left the bag in the kitchen and I guess my granddad found it. I walked into the living room and there he is eating one of my brownies and sipping tea. I'm legit freaking out. What do I do? I'm only 19, I live at home and my family hates weed. My anxiety is skyrocketing. Do I just tell me granddad that it's weed and take it the hard way? Is it safe for older people to eat a brownie? I'm from Denmark, sorry for the bad English. Edit. Right now it's 35 minutes since he ate it and it hasn't hit yet. I'm still on the verge of whether or not to tell him, but I don't think you guys understand the trouble I would be in. Weed is also illegal over here in Denmark. I will provide updates, but right now I need to calm down and figure out a solution. Edit 2. 3 hours later, let me try to wrap my head around what has happened. First of all, I took you guys' advice and told him. And also, thank you guys. I wouldn't have had the balls to tell him if it wasn't for some of the comments. I also am aware that I'm an irresponsible idiot, don't worry. Him and my grandma was sitting watching TV 45-ish minutes after he ate the brownie and I asked to talk to him one-on-one about some art homework. I sat down in his home office and I asked him if he felt weird after eating my brownie. Not at all, why are you asking? He said in a confused tone. I basically told him straight up that my friend from school made marijuana brownies and gave some to me, but I was gonna throw them out. He didn't believe me 1 second, it was obvious to tell, but he quickly put 2 plus 2 together and realized that he had just consumed weed and was going to be high. I told him that it can take a while for it to hit him, but it isn't dangerous and it's probably best if he goes to sleep, and to please not tell grandma or anyone else for THQT matter. What happened next is such a mindfuck. I knew my grandpa was an artist and a painter and I guess an old hippie, but I didn't expect him to tell me straight up that he has smoked weed plenty of times and also taken edibles. He told me about the times he would hide from my grandma to go smoke and how it helped him with his art. He told me that he used weed to expand his consciousness for his art projects and for his paintings. He told me that I was a little shit for leaving the brownies out like that, but he was smiling the entire time and I felt like he kinda liked that I was getting into weed for some reason. We sat down and talked about everything for 30 minutes, and when my grandma came in the room we would both shush her away. I really felt like I connected with my grandpa during this convo. Now I don't know if it's because he was already high, but he told me he couldn't feel a thing. He told me and my grandma to not disturb him while he goes working in his office. He has been there for the past 60 minutes and he def feels it. Jazz music is on his speakers, he is lighting up his cigars. And when I peeked my head in there he was closing his eyes and really feeling the music. I think my grandma thinks he has been drinking a little and told me to give him his space. I will update later tonight to let you guys know how things progress. Update. Final update for you guys. I appreciate all the comments from the good wholesome ones to the bad ones calling me a piece of shit. I deserve it and I own up to my mistakes. I was lucky this time. Anyways. My granddad basically just chilled in his office and I brought him water to make sure he was good. His eyes were absolutely blazed and he had a big smile on his face. I haven't seen him lighten up like that in my entire life. He seemed thankful for the experience. Anyways, I left him alone and he joined us at dinner. He handled it pretty well. He was talkative, cracking jokes, and my grandma defiantly thinks he's drunk, but she hasn't said much. It's after dinner now and we are just chilling together, me and my granddad. We are talking about life and spirituality and weed. Lots of weed talk. He wants to know all my high stories and we are laughing away. He is still baked out of his mind, but I must say he is taking it well. These are hash brownies, they hit like a horse. I can defiantly say that it's been one of my weirdest days so far. What started in pure paranoia is now ending in what I would say is almost too good to be true. My granddad knows I smoke and is cool with it. I became so much closer to him and it's like we are buddies now. My grandmom is confused about how we suddenly are bonding so well. Maybe she needs a brownie? All jokes aside, I will be here until Saturday, and am already fantasizing about smoking a joint with my old man, but for now let's have him ride this out first. I wouldn't have handled this the way I did without your comments. Reddit, you saved me today. Legends. Update. 2 days ago my granddad found my brownies in the kitchen and ate them by mistake. I rushed into this subreddit for advice and ended up telling him what he had consumed. Little did I know he was a stoner back in the days, and we ended up connecting deeply that night. You can read the post and updates on my profile, smiley face. Anyways, here is how the following days have went for anyone interested. My granddad went to bed early that night and everything was cool as expected. The following days was so much different from what I've seen of my granddad. He seemed so alive, like he seemed so creative all of a sudden in his thinking and expression of words. Also, our relationship has certainly been closer these couple of days, which is pretty cool. The following day at night, I asked him if he wanted to smoke a joint with me later this week, and not surprisingly, he told me he would defiantly hit it after Grandma is asleep. Am thinking about taking a picture of us smoking and uploading it with his permission. Will be such a memory to have. I'm worried that my husband's comments to my sister may have driven her away. I've known my husband for 6 years, been married for 1. I moved across the country for college when I was 18, where I met my 24 husband, 25. I've only been back a couple of times over the years, mostly for holidays, but my husband had never gone back with me until we ended up moving back to be closer to my family. Since we've been back, I've been trying to get closer to my family, especially with my sister. She was in some bad relationships and cut off contact with me and my parents for a few years, but she's back now and I had hoped that we'd be able to build a relationship. I had noticed that she'd not been coming over to my place as much, not spending as much time with the family, and then a few weekends ago she asked me if we could talk. She said that she felt that she wanted to let me know that my husband had been making comments and saying things to her that she thought were inappropriate. My sister is gorgeous, beyond beautiful, and she's always attracted attention, even from married men. My husband had been making comments about her body and her looks, compliments, but ones that made her feel uncomfortable. During Christmas, he had told her how attractive she was and some stuff about how lucky her boyfriend was. Since then, she's been trying to not be around him as much by not coming around as much and was afraid of how I was going to react if I found out. I was obviously really upset, but I told her that I understood and that it wasn't her fault and that it wouldn't happen again. My husband and I ended up in a fight when I confronted him about what she had told me, but eventually he admitted that he'd said most of that stuff to her, even though he tried to pass it off like he didn't mean anything by it. I made it clear that he wasn't to say anything like what he'd said to her again and that he'd apologize for his inappropriateness. He agreed with everything I asked of him. I let her know about my conversation with my husband and that he'd apologize whenever she felt like hearing it, but she's still not been coming around to family events. I'm so scared that his comments have driven a wedge between my sister and the rest of us. She and I hadn't talked for a long time until I had moved back, and I've been scared that something is going to make her want to leave again. Update 1. I was honestly so surprised by the amount of responses that my original post garnered. I tried to read everyone's thoughts, and I just want to say that I am really grateful to everyone who offered some perspective and took the time to share their thoughts, even if they were upset with the fact that I was handling everything in the wrong way. I wanted to update anyone who is interested in the state of everything right now. I feel I'm still going to be making people upset and angry, but I'm still trying to work out all that has happened in the last few weeks, and I'm hoping that I can eventually wrap my head around the situation and make better choices. One of the things that many people said is that my husband may have said or done more than my sister had told me, and that she's feeling unsafe and that I betrayed her. This thought is what has gotten to me the most, and it's been weighing on my shoulders. I'm struggling very hard with what to do next. The main update I have is that my sister and I have been talking. She hadn't been responding to most of my messages and calls since the last time that we had spoken in person, which is when I told her what I talked about with my husband. The last message I sent her was one that asked if she wanted to get lunch, which was the day before I posted. She ended up answering that one a couple of days after the post and agreed to have lunch with me. When we met up, she acted very normal. She seemed very much like her usual self, very bubbly and outgoing. I honestly can't tell if she's actually more upset and bothered than she's appearing. Her birthday is coming up at the end of this month and she wants to have a girls' trip/weekend away and she wants my help planning everything. She seems excited about that and, as far as I can tell, she is behaving as if everything is fine. I didn't know if I should bring up the situation with my husband, but I ended up asking her about it again. She reiterated what she had told me before. He complimented her on her looks and her outfits in a suggestive way and had said the thing about her boyfriend being a lucky man. She said, again, that she was mostly concerned with how I was going to feel about it. I didn't ask her if she felt unsafe around him. I feel now like I should have, but, at the time, I was still afraid that she didn't trust me and might feel like I was putting her on the spot. During lunch, I asked her what she would think if I left him. She repeated that her main worry before coming to me was causing issues between my husband and I, but told me that she didn't like my husband and didn't think he was a good guy, in general and specifically for me. I'm still worried about her, that she feels threatened and afraid of my husband, but right now she's acting okay with me. I'm hoping that if things continue to seem normal, we can continue to talk and she might open up more. Since that lunch, we've seen each other several times. I made dinner for my mom last Sunday and she came over to eat with us and then we did some planning for her birthday. Again, she's still acting as if everything is normal, but I'm still incredibly worried about her. The other thing that happened is that I started sleeping over at my mom's house. My mom has been having health/mobility issues that have made it difficult for her to do a lot. I had been trying to do as much as I could for her, but she's been needing someone around more full-time. I'd been so overwhelmed these past few months driving over to her house every day to drop off food and do the things around the house that she needed. I had already been considering finding someone to stay with her until she's back on her feet. After everything that happened, and then what I read in the last post, I talked to her about it. She agreed to let me stay with her in exchange for helping her out more. My mom's extra bedrooms are used as storage, so I had to spend last weekend uncluttering a place to sleep, but one of my sister's friends came over to help me clear out the room and I've been staying here since then. My husband figured out what I was doing and asked if it was because of what had happened with my sister. I told him that I wasn't lying about wanting to help my mom more, but that it was part of it. He was pretty upset, but he eventually let go. Right now my primary focus has to be on helping my mom and bringing my grades up in grad school, and I've been too anxious and upset over the last few weeks to concentrate and I can't afford to let my GPA slide. I'm also trying to be available for my sister whenever she wants to talk. Even though things appear to be stable with her right now, I'm still really anxious over what she might be thinking and feeling. It's a lot, and I'm really struggling with figuring out how to balance everything right now. My sister has been really helpful and so has her friend. My sister brought dinner for me and my mom this week, and her friend left some frozen meals for me to heat up when I'm too tired or busy to cook. He's also going to help me get my mom to her doctor's appointments this week. I'm scared to admit that I still don't know what to do about my husband. I got so many messages and DMs from people who were upset that I hadn't left him yet, but I'm still just feeling too overwhelmed to really come to terms with everything. I'm just trying to get through next month. I've got midterms and my sister's birthday, and then I feel like I can take a breath and take some time to figure out what to do about my relationship. It's very hard to think clearly right now, and I hope that the space between my husband and I is going to help and not hinder that. My husband is extremely upset. He's been calling and texting night and day with all the same questions that I couldn't answer in my last post, and I feel bad that I don't have any answers for anyone yet, but unfortunately I'm still trying to figure it out. Again, I know there are so many people who are going to hate me for this, and I'm sorry, but I'm still just trying to wrap my mind around everything. Update 2. I wasn't planning on making another update post, but I got a couple of comments and messages today, so I wanted to put out my final update. My husband and I are going to be splitting up. Like I said in my other update, I went ahead and moved in with my mom to take care of her for a few months, hoping that time apart would give me some clarity about everything. And, like I said in the previous post, my husband really didn't like that at all. We've probably fought more over the past month than we have in our entire marriage. Then, during one of our arguments, he ended up saying some awful, nasty things about my sister, and at that point I didn't want to go any further with him or the relationship. I'm still at a loss of what to do next. One of my sister's friends got me in touch with a lawyer and it's been overwhelming. I've still got my mother in grad school and my job, so with divorce on the docket, I'm just trying to keep my head above water right now. Also, I just wanted to say thank you to the people who gave me encouragement and wanted to give me some genuine guidance.